Hi there, YouTube. Steven here. It's been a long time since I've seen you guys, but I had some catching up to do, and I thought today would be a good day to do it. Different location. I'm sitting on my front porch. Can't smoke in the house, but I can smoke in the front porch, and it's due to the rain that's coming down right now. Spring is on its way here in Des Moines, but it's been snow and wind and rain and wind and wind and wind and snow and wind. It's been something. It's just struggling to get going. But now we got some good rain, and that's good for the greening of everything. So anyway, and you might hear some cars because I'm sitting right in the front of the house, right by the street. So anyway, a little housekeeping. I stopped in my local tobacconist the other day to get some pipe cleaners and some flints for my Zippo, which are super hard to find anymore. Used to be able to get them at any grocery store. So I stopped in there and I happened to look around a little bit, and they had a stack of Esoterica blends, and I picked up a Penzance for $46, which actually I didn't think it was that bad. I've only had one other tin of it in all my years of smoking a pipe, and it's one of those you just don't see it very often, as we all know. They did have bags as well for $96, $92 something. I didn't see if they had Stonehaven. I grabbed the Penzance because it was right on top and I was excited to get it. So yeah, I'm smoking that in my newest pipe, which I'll explain here in a minute. And I'm actually drinking something pretty interesting here. This is an iced latte, and it's Imperial Golden Ale with coffee, cocoa nibs, milk sugar, and vanilla extract aged in bourbon barrels. And it's 11% alcohol. My coworker Christy gifted me this, and it is really good. Really kind of creamy and tasty and unique. Cheers. So anyway, yeah, catching up because I had a pretty big week, and I kind of wanted to catch you guys up a little bit. So last Tuesday, I woke up and found out that I was 65 years old. Yeah, it kind of sneaks up on you like that. I wasn't really expecting it, but boy, there it was. And I know I'm 65 because in the mail I got a certificate from the Iowa House of Representatives thanking me for turning 65, or acknowledging that I turned 65. I didn't know what that was about, but I'll take it. It's kind of a neat gesture. So yeah, my wife and I got up, went to a local cafe, had a nice big breakfast, and other than that, we didn't do much because we had some things planned for later in the week. So yeah, nice, calm, quiet birthday. So the other things planned for that week is that was on Tuesday, the 7th. And then on Friday, the 10th, I retired from my job. I had been working part-time for 3 years once I started getting, or able to get Social Security. So I went to part-time due to my back. I got some real big back issues from standing all these years. And so I went to part-time then, and then I thought, you know, I'm 65, it's time. I've been planning it for a while. So that's where this pipe comes in. I like to, like so many of us, I like to buy a pipe when something happens in my life, like the grandkids and moving my son and just, you know, marriage of my other son and things like that. So this is, it's been sitting in a box next to my pipe cabinet for about 2 months, month and a half. And way back when I used to watch the Dagners all the time, they really loved Jake Hackert. And I always loved these Jake Hackert pipes. And I didn't know he was even making pipes anymore. But I had stumbled on to eBay, and he's got quite a few of them on there. And I always liked them because they're big, and they're chunky, and beautiful stem, nice band. And I'll tell you, the second time I smoked it, and I filled it the first time and realized, I mean, I can put my thumb pretty much all the way inside this thing. It is a huge pipe. So now I've got it about 2/3 of the way full. Because man, it was a over 2-hour smoke. So anyway, yeah, I retired. Bittersweet. I love my job. I keep saying had my back not been the way it is, I might have kept going a while. But then I think I'm 65. What do you go to 67, 68, 70? At what point do you call it? I've worked for about 50 years, and maybe it's time for me to have some time for me. So Louisa's not retired for a while yet, so this will be me doing things, and I've got, as you do, I've got quite a list. I've got 2 grandkids over in Grand Rapids. I need to see them more often, and of course I fly fish a lot. I need to get back on my bike more. I need to do some walking. I love to plant flowers. I don't really do garden much, but I pot a lot of flowers around the yard and feed the birds and whatnot. I may start a garden down the road. I'd like to get back into hiking. Yeah, just, trying to figure out what tomorrow holds, because that'll be my first day of not having to report to work. So, interesting. It's, for those of you that have done it already, it's kind of strange. It's a chapter, and being an avid reader, I'm all about chapters, and a chapter in life has turned, and here I got to step up and see what it holds. So I told my coworkers, or I kind of asked my coworkers, I said, I'm not much for any kind of a big fanfare. I don't like the getting up in front of everybody and, making a speech and all that stuff. So I said, just, I'm going to come to work Friday. I'm going to do a little work, and then I'm going to shake some hands and breeze out of here. I said, you can do some cupcakes or a cake, that's fine. So, of course, my sister told me, if someone's to give you a gift, don't rob them of the blessing. So I kept that in the back of my mind just in case. Wow. Pipe's still going, even with it gabbing. And you will see me, I'm checking some notes here because I got a lot of stuff to go over. I get to work and come up the back steps like I usually do and into the shop, and there's a table set up with a crock pot and some buns and chips and a cake and all that, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. So the gifts start coming in right away. I think this coffee drink was the first thing. Christy met me in the back and gave me that, and I got a little bit choked up as I do. That's the other thing. When you get a little older, man, you get choked up over anything. So, but it was a touching moment. So I went to work, and I grabbed a bike, which turned out to be my last bike to do a tune-up on, which was a fairly easy one, which was nice. And I started working into it, and here comes a customer friend, and he came in and chat, and then some employees came in, and past employees came in, and by and large, there were probably 20 people, 22 people, something there, but it was super low key, and it was good to see a lot of the folks, and we told a lot of stories, and just, our time together. So I've been there this will be my 30th year if I continued on, so I've been there just over 29 years. Which was longer than I spent in law enforcement. I was at my police job for 18 years, so this has been substantially longer than that. But the owner of the company came in. That was really nice, and his name is Forrest, and we had some good conversation. I thanked him for keeping me on all these years, and I thanked him for helping to feed my family. Because that, ultimately that's what a job's about, is giving you the money to live your life and feed your family and keep a roof over your head. And they did that for all these years. So I sure appreciated that. So I'd like to thank Forrest and his wife Laura. She does some of our bookkeeping and things like that. And then Forrest's son. Forrest is maybe just a little bit older than me, and he's pretty much backed out of the company a little bit, but his son Biff is running the company, and Forrest is still very involved, but Biff runs it now, and yeah, he gave me a call, which was very sweet, so I appreciate that very much. So I'd like to thank those guys for, like I said, keeping me on all these years. There are times in the bike industry that can get kind of slow, and we kind of self-regulate. You know, if it's real slow, like me when I was part-time this last 3 years, I just take off. It's like I don't need to be there. I'm not going to just stand around and wait for something to come in. We build a lot of bikes out of boxes and stuff like that when there's not much service to do. But yeah, they kept me on all these years, and I sure appreciate that. So then, if we go down the list, and this is going to be kind of a bike world related video, because I'm going to try to mention everybody that I worked with all these years. So Mark, my coworker, one of those guys that just gives and gives. Gave him my first fly rod when I expressed some interest in fly fishing, and he had a rod and a reel. He wasn't using it. He gave me that, and that started this whole thing with fly fishing. And he's a hunter, so he's always bringing venison and pheasants, and yeah, just out of the kindness of his heart, and I sure appreciate that. He stocked me up a little bit before I left this last hunting season. We got that in the freezer, and we'll sure enjoy that. And then you got Matt. Matt is a one-man marketing department. Matt does all of our marketing, as far as I know, and he's really good at it. And yeah, he's got one other issue. He loves, when you go to the grocery store in the vestibule, they have all the sale items that, buy one, get one free or whatever. He loves to load up on bags of chips or cookies or whatever, and he's done that through the years. I have a photo, I'm not going to dig for it now, but I've got a photo. He had these cookies that were like Oreos, but they were peppermint. And I came in the shop one morning, and they were stacked on my bench all the way up to the ceiling, which was visually pretty cool. Yeah, so yeah, thanks Matt for all that. Going down the list here, like I say, I do have a list. Seamus. Seamus came to us when he was just a kid, but he was never a kid. I told Seamus this a long time ago, and I completely believe it. He is a old soul. He's worked with us for quite a while now, and he's bought himself a van, and he's getting it all outfitted to live in it. He spent the off season out in sorry Seamus, Utah or Idaho, I think, and built up his own bike frame. He stayed with a guy that was a frame builder, and so he's just that kind of guy. Real old school for a young guy. So yeah, thanks Seamus. From there, let's see. My phone keeps going shut, so that makes it fun. Sterling. Sterling and I have worked together separately for many, many years. Sterling worked at a different shop in Des Moines. About as long as I worked at my bike shop. Then they sold out, went to a different company, and he wasn't going to stick around for that, so went into the motorcycle industry. Oh, here's a loud one. There he goes. Yeah, he went to the motorcycle industry for a while, and then he came back to the bike industry, and he came back to work with us. And it's been a real pleasure working with Sterling, so thanks, Sterling. Then we got Jeff. Jeff's one of our part-timers, just a sweet, kind guy, Works hard. He's always got a smile on his face, and I've always appreciated working with him. And Alex is a brand new employee. She started with us just a couple of months ago, and she's one of those, and I'll mention 2 or 3 of them here, that I wish I was staying longer just to get to know them better. She seems like she's going to be a good asset for us at Bike World. And last in the sales side of things is Justin. Justin is our general manager. We do not recall which one of us started first. We've always worked together. So within maybe a couple of months, of course he started when he was about 14, 15 probably, and I started when I was much older. And I started part-time. I was still at the police job, and I'd come in there 2, 3 nights a week and work. So we've worked together our entire careers, and he's our general manager and a good friend. Years ago, when I needed some help, I had some life issues going on, and Justin stepped up to help me. And I'll never forget that. And those of you that know me pretty well know that every time I light this pipe, it's because I'm getting choked up. Pretty easy to see that, though, and hear it. That was one of the things, silly enough, I was most worried about, is getting all choked up and blabbering like a baby. And I did, some, but it wasn't bad. Darden Seamus wrote me this full-page letter thanking me for all the things I've done with him, teaching him things and whatnot, and boy, that got me. And then he came up and put his hand on my arm, and that was the end of that. I was a mess, but I think he was too. And then, a little short, in the shop, in the actual mechanic section, we've got Mike, who started with us some time back. He's got a lot of experience on working on his own bikes, which is how we get a lot of mechanics. And he came to us, and fast learner, great attitude, just one of those guys that's just great to have in the shop. Real level-headed, not afraid to jump into anything. And I'm going to miss him. He's one that also I wish he would have came earlier, or I would have stayed longer just to get to know him better. We got a kid named Corbin. One of those kids that, the way things are going sometimes in the world we're living in, you wonder if we're in big trouble. And then you work with a kid like Corbin, and you realize we're going to be all right. He's a high school kid, and he's just talk about a can-do attitude. He's not afraid to try anything. Back up a little bit. Part of the reason I've sort of maybe aged out of this career is every other bike now has a motor in it, and it's 70 or 80 pounds. Electronic shifting, tubeless tires with sealant in them, hydraulic disc brakes. There's a lot of stuff that technology just, I don't hardly, as an old guy, and I don't mean to bash on all that stuff, because progress is progress. And the e-bikes have gotten people out riding that never ride, and that is really cool. And they're damn fun to ride. But as an old guy, I hardly recognize it as a bike. And you got these kids like Corbin that just, they've never known anything else, so they just jump into this stuff, and they don't even hesitate. And I sure appreciate that. He bought one of my fixed gear bikes to get into fixed gear riding. Now I think he's got another one. And as we do at the bike shop, he's building up bikes, and we accumulate bikes pretty easily. And it gets out of control. That's why I still have like 30 some of them. Anyway, the last person, or the next to last person, is Keegan. He just started just a couple of weeks ago, I think. And he's a young hockey player, and he's following kind of in the same footsteps as my youngest son. Matter of fact, when I met him, I said, "Hey, I understand you play hockey," and he goes, "Yeah, I understand your son's better than I am." That's a hard, what do you say to that? So I said, well, I mean, he was pretty good. So, but I told Keegan I'm going to be watching and reading, following your career, because I think he's going places. But once again, I wish I would have worked with him longer, because he seems like a real good kid, and he's jumping right into the service. Of course, this is April. It's starting to ramp up. Horrible time for somebody to retire, but I couldn't make it the rest of the year. I didn't want to go through another season. So April, my birthday, turned 65. I thought that's perfect time. So last person on the list in the service side of things is Christy, that gave me this. And she came to us, believe it or not, from Target, which is a department store, a lot of you probably have. And she started building bikes at the department store. I think that's what she wanted to do. She'd rode to work, and she was getting into cycling. And after a while, she's building bikes there, and then they, as they do in those places, they moved her like cosmetics and shipping, I think, and different departments, and that's not what she signed on for. So she came to Bike World, applied for a job, and boy, talk about somebody that's a go-getter. She just jumps into anything. Fast learner, good mechanic, you know, really got serious with cycling, super fit, races, and being a woman, yeah, the fields aren't as quite as large in the racing, but she's almost always on the podium, which gives you some idea how fast she is. Rides to work all the time, as often as she can, and yeah, she's cool. I have really enjoyed working with her. And with Christy comes her son Cash. Cash worked with us just very part-time. Actually, I haven't seen him for a while because of my schedule. I only work 10 to 2, and he comes in after school because he's a high school kid. But really enjoyed working with Cash. Just a very creative, smart kid. Kind of like Corbin. It's just nice to see those kids come up and you realize, yeah, we're going to be all right. So that's pretty much it for the staff. I mean, I have tried fairly recently to think back at how many people I've worked with at Bike World, and it's got to be over 100. You know, we have a lot of temporary people like college kids, high school kids, and then we got people come back for a season now and then, or between jobs they'll come back. I've always said you never quit Bike World because it's always there, and as long as you don't really screw up, your job's there. And yeah, it's been helpful for a lot of people in between work and whatnot. And I may, the fellow that runs our warehouse where they build most of the bikes, he already threw it out. He said, hey, don't even call. Just show up if you want. If you're bored, you're looking for something to do, extra bucks, show up and build some bikes, and you know, anytime you want. And that's a nice thing to just keep in the back of my head in case I, you know, like I say, I don't know what's going to happen. So that's pretty much it for the list of folks. I'd like to thank all the customers that became friends, and the friends that became customers, which is pretty cool. I've met a lot of people through the years. Need to thank my family, my 2 sons, my wife Louisa and her 3 kids for supporting me all this time. That means a lot. So yeah, everybody keeps asking, what are you going to do, what are you going to do? And that list I gave you, you know, camp and hike and outdoor stuff, you know, the things I want to do. Working just 4 hours a day, usually my back would get so tied up that I'd fish for a couple hours at the most, and I was laying on the bank of the creek or the lake. So now I get up fresh in the morning, and we'll see what happens if I can get some stuff done. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my story. You know, it's not unique, but it is to me. So thanks for letting me share it. Thank you, the staff of Bike World. It's been a hell of a pleasure. I sure enjoyed it. So anyway, pipe's trying to go out. Yeah, I'm not getting that emotional, but I am having a hard time keeping it going. So anyway, you guys take care, and that's the other thing. I hope to be on here a little more because I'll have more time to make some videos, so likely see you a little bit more often. So take care, y'all.